free learning spaces. So in alignment with our ongoing efforts to provide our students conducive learning environments that benefit them not only academically, but also socially and economically, emotionally, we will be implementing a cell phone free policy all across our K-8 schools in our district, beginning January of 2025. And I think you agree with me that there's plenty of research out there right now that speaks about the benefits that come about from just taking a pause, right, from these devices that so much have control our lives in every minute of the day. But we know that there are great benefits, such as improved focus and attention. Without the distraction of cell phones, students are more likely to concentrate on their lessons and engage fully in their classroom activities. And that is what we're looking for, high engagement from all of our students. We also know that it enhances social interaction, right? Imagine when you walked into this room, you may not know somebody, but if you have your phone, most likely, instead of going out and taking a risk and engaging with a person that you don't know, you're gonna go to your safe space, which is going to be, look at your phone and see what's going on. So we know that a cell phone-free environment encourages that face-to-face communication among peers, helping students develop the important social skills and build stronger relationships. We also know that it increases academic performance. With fewer distractions, students can better absorb information, participate fully in the discussions, and the learning tasks that the teachers have worked so hard to create for them. It also reduces cyberbullying. Limiting cell phone access can help decrease instances of cyberbullying, as students are less likely to engage in harmful online behavior during school hours. It also promotes healthy habits. A cell phone-free policy encourages students to engage in physical activities, exploring their surroundings, and participating in non-digital habits. It enhances mental well-being. Imagine reducing screen time, the wonders that does to just alleviate stress and anxiety that is associated with social media and the constant connectivity, promoting better mental health among students. It also increases opportunities for creative thinking. Sometime in the classroom, right, there may be a task, and often quickly, I know because I do it too, I might say, hey, let me see what Google has to say about that. But imagine not having that resource and really trying to press yourself, right? To think creatively and engage more in deep problem solving. And overall, I think you're gonna hear today that also it strengthens school culture, right? A collective commitment to cell phone-free environments can foster a sense of unity, like what we've seen here at Barnard, and a shared values among our students, our staff, and our parents. So we began this effort last year with some pilots. This was one of the first schools to pilot becoming a cell phone-free learning environment. Today you're gonna hear from the principal of this building, you're gonna hear from one of our teachers that has experienced that implementation, but more importantly, you're gonna get to hear from our students to kind of learn about what it was like when they heard all about this policy and then living the policy in action. And we had other schools also who implemented last year, like King Robinson Interdistrict Magnet School, Wexel Grant, and this year we opened the doors at Salentano School, also implementing this policy, as well as Bishop Woods. And Troop School, for example, has been doing this now for the last 2 weeks. So the ultimate plan here is to make the entire district a cell phone free learning space for all of our students. Of course, we have begun with this tool called Yonder to help us with this implementation. And we're going to be leveraging all of the learnings that we have now to continue to engage with what we learn when we implement in January, to continue to also talk to our high schoolers and bring their voice into this work, because we know, right, we're not talking high school yet, because we know we want to make sure that we get this right and that we learn about the challenges at that grade level, the hesitation that our students may have, concerns that our families may have, because we want to get this right. But again, the ultimate goal is to go full implementation in the fall of 2025. And with that, I am going to invite Mayor Justin Elicker to join us. Mayor, it is all yours.
Thanks, Dr. Negrón. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. And I know the meeting is supposed to be neutral, but I used to get really nervous in front of the press. I'm a little bit more comfortable now. But you guys, this is your second time for many of you in front of the press in 2 weeks. Can we give them a round of applause?
Yes.
Pretty impressive. I also want to acknowledge Alder Punzo, who is the chair of the Education Committee on the Board of Alders. Appreciate the work that you do, Alder, and Alder Punzo is omnipresent. Shows pretty much everything. And thank you, Principal Esquiva, for taking a risk. Where'd you go? Taking a risk and really being on the forefront of this. I think you shared last night at the Board of Education meeting. I hope you share again. Is you're thinking about why this was necessary and you taking action. And I also hope you share some of the logistics of how it works, because the Yonder pouches have really helped us be able to implement something operationally that was, when we were looking at this earlier on, was much trickier to do. And so the students here use them, and at the other schools use them, and this is what we're looking to do across the district. When I was in high school, we had a smoking lounge in my high school for teachers, and students smoked right outside the smoking lounge outside. And can you believe that? I mean,
Students' faces.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? It's shocking to even think about that. And I think that in 10 years, we will look back on this time and say, can you believe that we had, kids had cell phones in schools? And the analogy is pretty close, because smoking is bad for your health, and the reality is that there's a lot of evidence that increasingly shows that cell phones are bad for your health. We want our kids to be deeply engaged in learning in schools. We want our kids to have meaningful friendships and positive interactions in school. We want our kids to have a positive self-image in school and engage with their peers in a positive way. And the reality is, cell phones, texting, social media apps create an environment where our kids are not healthy, not productive learners in our schools. And there's increasing evidence that shows that that is the case. And I point out that smartphone ownership is nearly universal in teens right now. Not for some of the younger kids. You all are in 8th grade, right? But particularly as you get into the kind of older grades, it's nearly universal. We know that kids check their phones during the day, and their phones are buzzing all day, because that happens with adults too. One recent study found that the median number of times a teenager picks up their phone during the day is 51 times. And of course the range is wide, right? The top was around almost 500 times, and the bottom was 2. But 51 times a day, teens are picking up their phones and looking. While at school, 97% of 11 to 7-year-olds say they use their phones during the school day. 97%. With a median of 13 pickups, and the median amount of time spent at school on cell phones, 43 minutes. That's like a whole class. It's a whole class. It's ridiculous, right? And that was one study. On a typical day, teens see a median of 237 notifications, which is about a quarter of those 60 that are during school. So the number of notifications that they see across the day, they're seeing around 60 notifications within school. Thinking about, we're asking students to sit in a classroom, behave, pay attention, and then they have in their pocket something that is addictive, that is sending them notifications. We want our students to be successful. We have to set them up to be successful. If you're next to a candy jar, you're really likely to get that candy, right? Adults and kids alike. And so we need to find a way to make sure that the candy jar is far away from us. And the solution is simple: cell phone free schools. And I'd like to commend Dr. Negrón for being, my understanding is the first urban district that's made this commitment to do so, and has piloted the cell phone free schools, and is now looking to roll this out first in January for K through 8, and with the goal of in the next academic year for all schools across the board. We also want to underscore that this needs to be a benefit to teachers. Teachers' job shouldn't be policing students and confiscating cell phones, and that's why the Yonder pouches are super helpful, because when students arrive at school, they lock their pouches, they keep them with them, but they lock them so they can't access them. So there's that one interaction when they arrive at school where the students lock and then they unlock at the end of the day. So it facilitates teachers actually doing what they should be doing, which is focusing on teaching our students and supporting our young people. The last thing I will add is that there's a cost to this. And given the financial challenge in New Haven Public Schools, I plan to propose to the Board of Alders a $375,000 one-time investment in the Yonder Pouch system, so that all 19,000 students across our schools have access to this technology. And so I'll be submitting to the Board of Alders a proposal to use those funds to acquire the pouches. Once we acquire the pouches, there will be annually a small cost in replacing some of the pouches if the students lose them and things like that, but this one-time cost will get us rolling. And so I'm optimistic and hopeful that the Alders will support that. So as you can tell, I'm really excited about this. And as a dad, I'm particularly excited about this because I want my kids to be in a school where they're engaging with their peers, where at a cafeteria they're not staring at a phone, but they're chatting like many of the adults did when we were growing up, and playing games with our peers and joking with our peers and exchanging ideas. So I think this is a really big moment, an exciting moment. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the New Haven Federation of Teachers, Union President, Leslie Blateau. Leslie.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Elicker, Dr. Negrón, Principal Skiba, and Mr. Croteau. Barnard students, it's great to be here. I'm Leslie Blateau, President of New Haven Federation of Teachers, and I'm proud to represent educators across this city who really have two primary goals when we come to work every day. One, we want to build deep and meaningful relationships with our students and their families. And two, we want to design and create engaging learning experiences for our students. Those are our two goals. And we all know, we can all acknowledge that the current culture of cell phone dependency is an impediment to our members, to educators throughout the city reaching those two goals. And our cell phone dependency is an obstacle to making sure that we're meeting the needs of the whole child. And that is something that we are committed to in New Haven, is meeting the needs of the whole child. So there are a range of solutions when it comes to this issue. And I think it's really important that we recognize that there's not just one magic bullet that's going to do this. There are many things, and I'm proud that we are a city that's going to work on this collaboratively. For example, I belong to a national union, American Federation of Teachers, and our national union is working hard to hold social media companies accountable for their addictive logarithms that they implement. So we have to make sure we're holding social media companies accountable for what they're doing to our students, to our children. Two, we want to make sure there are more opportunities for hands-on learning, outdoor experiences. I want to share a brief story. When I worked at Metropolitan as a senior teacher, we brought our students to Project Pride, and we got our students on the ropes courses. And cell phones were never a problem when we were over at Project Pride, because students were fully engaged, they were doing challenge by choice, and they were bringing their full selves to the work, and the temptation just wasn't there. And I know, ninth grade world history might not compare to Project Pride, although maybe I could make it compare. Nevertheless, when we create hands-on learning experiences for our students, we're much more able to make sure that cell phone dependency isn't there. We have to engage with our community about how we're going to do this. We need clear and accessible policies around what this is going to look like K-8, and I'm confident that collaboratively we will work on this together. Let's make sure that our in-person learning truly is in person. So if we're focusing on less cell phones and cell phone-free spaces, let's make sure that our students have less screen time in school and really are back to those things that we know children deserve. We're gonna need more social emotional support because we have grown dependent on our cell phones. So how can we make sure students have the tools to make this transition? And then of course, as Barnard is doing, as Mayor Elicker highlighted, the Yonder pouches are going to be crucial to helping us implement this with fidelity so that we can enjoy the benefits that Dr. Negrón laid out. The benefits are more social interaction with our kids, more engagement in the schoolwork. Teachers will welcome the relief of not having to constantly engage on the cell phone, put it away, when we just know there is a clear way that students can put it away so we can do the work that we want to do. You know, we have about 6 or 7 hours with our kids each day in school. And we know that much of the hours when they're not with us in school, they are on screens. So let's get back to really protecting childhood. And when I say childhood, I mean pre-K through 12th grade, protecting childhood and giving students opportunities to be kids and learn in ways that we know work for them, for teachers, and for school communities. So thanks for the opportunity and really looking forward to this unfolding in the months ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to go over two things, the reason for my initial implementation and some of the logistics. So my first year here, I saw a major concern with students walking down the hallways on their cell phone in the cafeteria, and I would ask, what are you looking at? And they were just scrolling. They couldn't even tell me what they were watching. At that point, it was almost a drug. They were just scrolling. They couldn't say, I watched a video about this. I would walk into classrooms and the teacher would be teaching, but the student, out of no fault of the teacher, was scrolling or doing an assignment and scrolling, and it almost became addictive, and I felt like I needed to do something to re-engage students. So I researched a few options, found the one that best felt like I could implement and support the teachers, because I knew it was going to be a hurdle, and taking anything away was going to be a jump. So I got the team together, we devised a plan, we came up with the best that would work for the teachers to not have to take away from teaching. So the students enter the door 5th and 6th grade, there's 2 people at the door, students put their phone right in the pouch like this, they have it on their person for the day, and the teachers don't have to engage with the back and forth. Teachers know we have a policy on how to address the students. If they see a cell phone, they call the office, we have a plan, and we meet with the students, and that there's clear expectations. There's a door for 7-8, the same thing follows there. The students know they can access their phone at any time. There's a magnet, they can come to the main office. There's clear places if they're feeling some sort of anxiety about needing to use their cell phone. We also have spoken with specific individuals and families to ease some of the stress of not having access. They know if there's an extreme emergency, a lockdown, we can cut open the pouches. The teachers have access to open the pouches if there was an extreme emergency where they needed to contact home and we were in a lockdown situation. So there's always access to your child. You can always call the office, like an old school, we called the office and asked for a student, we can bring them down. So you always have access to your child and to your parent. We ease some of those anxieties with individual cases. So overall, I want to have a teacher explain some of the logistics on the teacher side, but I saw a need because students were not engaged in each other and the work, and coming up with the logistics that the Yonder felt the most beneficial for our school, and then the Yonder company worked with us and the teachers to make that happen.
Hi, I'm Dan Coteau. I'm a 7th and 8th grade language arts teacher. I've worked in this building for 8 years. For the first 6, I dealt with cell phones a lot. Kids were always having them out. And if you tried to take them away, you got into the power struggle with them, because if you're physically taking away from them, some of them are addicted and some of them just couldn't handle that. With the Yonder pouches, the students are able to keep their phone on them and they're locked. So it's a win-win for both the teacher and the student. And with the administrative support of putting a plan in place of starting in the morning and having the administration help take the phones away, it took less of a burden on the teachers, and we're now required to just call the office, and then administration or a member of our support staff will come and get the phone. With that, student outcomes are up immensely. Most of our students are very happy with their grades. They're happy to be engaged. Most of them will probably not admit it, but they actually really enjoyed not having the phones because they realized as time went on that they were able to stay focused and less distracted. Also would say that the benefit of it was we saw a decrease in not only social media drama during the school day, but physical altercations. As a middle school teacher, usually there's a fight within the first few weeks. With the yonder pouches in place, we didn't see a fight until Thanksgiving. And I want to say we only had like 3 fights the entire year. It was much less with the yonder pouches because we were able to control communication with students, with each other, and with students and parents. And that's all how it's helpful. That's all I'm going to say.
And I'm seeing on our list Gwen Agba and Natalie Nyoa. You know? So, do you want to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. You said, how do you feel?
I agree with everyone on the yonder pouches, especially throughout the city of New Haven. I feel like every school should have yonder pouches so all the students can learn and focus. Especially how some kids are getting a phone too young at like 3rd grade, and then they're just using their phone all throughout the class, and then they don't pay attention and actually learn what they're supposed to be learning. I feel like every grade, even kindergartners, because some kindergartners have a phone too, as I saw. So I feel like every grade should have one of these yonder pouches. And that's what I'm gonna say.
Thank you, Owen.
Natalie?
Hi, I just want to thank my teachers and everybody for being here today. Honestly, I agree with what everybody's been saying when it comes to yonder pouches, like in the sense that when yonder pouches were like or weren't intact, or as, how do I say, like rules weren't as enforced when it comes to yonder pouches and phones, there was a lot going on, not during our school, but in other schools around New Haven and even in the state of Connecticut and other states as well. The overall effectiveness of the yonder pouches, I want to say there's been drastic changes, not only when it comes to overall behavior, but also grades and attendance. I just want to just give my input, but that's basically it.
Thank you, Natalie.
I think that's it. Do folks have any questions?
So what would you, I know that you kind of addressed it, but what would you say to the parents that maybe perhaps have those concerns about accessibility to their kids throughout the school day?
So I think having done some of the research and speaking to other schools that have piloted these efforts, what we learn is that there's still ways, right? We realize that parents may need to connect with their children because of things that are happening spur of the moment. But I think the key to that is ensuring that whatever the practice is going to be for that particular school, like needs to make sense for the school. And it's ensuring that we're communicating for day one, what will be the protocol that you will need to go through as a parent if you have an emergency and you need to reach your child. So I think it's ensuring them that yes, you're still gonna have access to your child, even though, right, the cell phone is going to be locked up in a yonder pouch. So I think it's all about articulating and being very clear about saying and ensuring that the access is still there. But what we're saying is, let's protect the time. The children are supposed to be here so that they can truly, fully engage in their learning when they're with us.
Are there plans to engage parents? I know you were saying you want to make sure that you get it right. What do those plans look like?
So the plans will look, I plan to do some focus groups, talk to parents. I realize like some parents have different realities. Plan to have focus groups also engaging with students, because our students deal with a myriad of challenges, And I wanna make sure that whatever we are putting in place again is going to work for them. This has to include their voice. We don't wanna create another challenge for them. What we're trying to do is erase the barrier that we see right now that is getting in the way of fully engaging with the instruction and with the opportunities that they have in just fully engaging with their peers and with their teachers. So again, there'll be a lot of that work happening in the months to come.
Are any of those focus groups planned yet?
We don't have the layout yet of the sequence, and we're gonna have those available, but that again is part of our plan.
And are the students issued a pouch to use throughout the school year, or do they get a new one each day? How does that process work?
Each student is issued their own, and they actually write their name on it, so it stays with them from the beginning to the end. And if they damage it or break it, that is another conversation, but it is their individual pouch for them.
For the school year?
Yep, similar to like a Chromebook device it would be, yep.
Would someone be able to show us how it actually works? I
Sure.
don't fully understand like the magnet to the pouch.
These are at, yeah, these are at the doors.
So that
So
when
they
they
put
walk
it-
through the front door.
They
that's the
close
school
it like
door.
that, yep, and now it's with her for the day.
Can you just do that one more time?
Yeah,
And this is at the front door of the school?
front door, the two entrances that they come in, yeah. Got notifications on there.
Now, do the students take those pouches home with them?
Yep. So I was against that at first, but Yonder itself says that's the best method that they've found through their piloting in many, many other districts and states and cities.
Principal Skiba,
Yep.
I just wanted also to add, because I know that Principal Skiba mentioned, right, what worked for her in this building
Right, different.
is having those at the door. That doesn't mean that that has to be necessarily the way that every school will approach it. We've heard of other places where they're, for example, let's say they are organized in team, grade level teams. Each team leader might have one of those, where the process is more to engage at that level. So again, we wanna make sure that whatever happens is going to be customized with what that particular school needs and they know will work for them.
Just to add, I think the K through 8 is a very different situation than high school, and I think one of the things that Dr. Negron's been really smart about is giving us some time to implement K through 8 with a number of schools that have already tested this out and can share with their colleagues at other schools what worked and what didn't work. And then high school, even more complicated, so she's made sure that there's even more time to engage with the principals, the administrators, the teachers, the students and the families. And our high schools, a lot of our students work, and so they may need to contact the employer midday because there's a shift change or there's some personal reason where they can't show up at work. Some of our students have children of their own, and they need to make sure that they're available if their child is sick or there's an incident. And so there's different challenges that our high schools are facing, which certainly don't mean that this is not insurmountable. I think, and I regularly do informal surveys when I go around the city, and I'm always surprised at how many high school students I ask, like, hey, what do you think about a cell phone free space? They're like, yeah, we want that. And I think more and more kids are understanding just the value of that. But it's a little bit more complicated, which is exactly why Dr. Negron has kind of built into the schedule more time for us to really get this right.
Have you talked to other school districts, like Waterbury's done this, Warrington, like have you talked to other districts just to kind of get a sense of how it's working for them?
Yes, we have done a lot of work with Manchester Public Schools. Spent a lot of time speaking with the superintendent. I know that he was one of the first ones to roll this out. And he was the one that pretty much advised around like being very thoughtful and intentional because it's gonna look different from the KA scenario to the high school scenario.
Great, thanks everybody.